Hi everyone, happy Money Monday. I hope y'all had a wonderful weekend. Let's jump in. Alright, Hilda 2002 says, I lost my job today. We'll be getting paid for the next 3 months. I had a plan for Christmas and some travel savings, but I've changed it to my emergency plan, which includes only the basics. I did baby step 1 and 2 together, so I haven't been able to finish baby step 1 completely, but I do at this moment have $274 in my emergency fund and no debt. Do you have any tips to this situation? Hey Hilda, I know you've been a long time viewer and I'm so sorry you lost your job. A couple of things. One, it's fantastic that you don't have any debt and that you do have a secured income source for the next 3 months. I know this feels horrible, but the situation could definitely be worse. And I know everyone hates to hear that, but it's good that you have a secure income source for the next 3 months, and I'm assuming you won't be working since you lost your job. So what you can do is really, really buckle down and try to find a new job. I think you're doing the exact right thing in switching over to an emergency budget. I have a plan like that as well, where there aren't any more sinking funds if I lose my job, if there's an emergency situation. There isn't any more restaurant or entertainment money. It's just basically the 4 walls and the minimums on bills. So you cut your lifestyle to nothing until you get that secure source of constant income coming back in. This is one of the reasons, however, I do have to a little bit, that you don't try to do the baby steps at the same time. It would probably feel, I mean, I know it feels bad, but it would probably feel a little bit better if you did have that $1,000 in the bank. So I can't say enough how important it is to start and work the baby steps as they are. So go ahead and get that $1,000 in the bank. I mean, right now you're on emergency savings. Any of this income that's coming in that isn't going to bills, go ahead and save it while you are looking for a job. And maybe you'll be able to get that $1,000 in there. I don't know what sort of margins you're dealing with, but it's save everything you can. It sounds like you're on the right path, and just really hit the pavement on your job. But other than that, you're doing great. You're doing the right thing. I'm very glad to hear that you've got 3 months worth of income coming in. And you'll beat this. You can do it. All right. Jenny Cook says, being a single person, do you think it would be better to pay more in rent to live closer to downtown where I work and are near people my age, or live further away for cheaper rent but risk more wear and tear / potential accidents on my car? I live in Ohio, so winters can get a little scary, but I'm still in debt and trying to be cost conscious. I make $45,000 a year and would be looking at $850 to $900 a month downtown versus $750 a month in the suburbs. It depends on a few things, but I congratulate you for thinking about this. Normally living outside the city is going to be cheaper. I don't really worry about wear and tear on cars. They're depreciating assets anyway. They're every year that you have them, they're going down in value, and the occasional bump or scrape or shopping cart ding isn't really going to affect the overall price of it. This isn't an asset that you're investing in. This is a commodity that you have that's meant to be used. As far as your income versus how much your rent is, Dave Ramsey recommends no more than 25 to 30% of your income, and in both places you're well within that margin. I'm taking the pre-tax money, and it's like $930 is 25% of your income, and so you could live in either place. I think it will probably come down to a bit of a lifestyle decision. Will you be able to save money if you're living in the city by maybe walking more, just entertainment wise, being able to go out and do free things? Or is it really that big of a deal to commute in, especially if you have friends that live in the city? Right now I'm living downtown. I live 2 blocks from the city, but city in Mena, but I've never lived somewhere where I could actually afford to live in the downtown district before, just because it was wildly expensive. Certainly different than these margins here of $100 to $200 in savings. So do a cost analysis of how much it would cost to commute every day. If during a month it's more than $100, then you should probably live in the city. If it's less than $100, consider finding a place just outside the city, because then it's you can still commute in. But either way here, you're well within your margins, and I congratulate you for thinking on this, on a good way to live. Especially since I doubt it's going to cost you $100 a month to commute unless you're commuting a greater distance than I'm imagining from the suburbs to the city. I would probably live in the suburbs and then commute in. But that would just be me. Cost-wise, you can afford to do either. Just take a look at your lifestyle and how much it's really going to cost to live in the city versus the suburbs. Good job. All right. H. Moreno says, "Hey BG, I'm 51 years old and just got laid off after 32 years. I have my son's student loan, Parent Plus, of $4,000 at 8.5% in my name, which I make payments on, and my son used to put money in my account for the payment. However, he recently lost his job, and I was stuck making the payment, but now that I'm out of work, I still have to pay this loan. I do have a savings of about $10,000, and I'm going to receive a payout of about $30,000, but that gets taxed, so I'm looking at possibly $20,000. And I'm currently collecting unemployment, which of course is not nearly what I used to bring in. Plus, I do have 401k and pension, but of course I won't be touching that yet. I'm currently looking for another job. I've thought of paying off the $4,000 loan when I receive the payout and have my son pay me. Outside of the student loan, the only thing I owe is my mortgage. My son just started a new job and is digging out of his current hole. What is your thought on paying off that loan?" Hey, H, I know you commented before. I'm sorry that you're in this situation. It's kind of a raw deal when the student loan companies get parents to sign up, and students, once we get out of school, even if we mean well, we're usually not in a situation where we can pay on that, and it falls to you, and you're not working. So that's scary, and that's bad. I would not recommend that you pay off that loan with your savings. Considering your situation that you are collecting unemployment and this money might have to last you a while, I would sit down and have a real discussion with your son, who is working now, about him taking responsibility for this loan and paying directly on it. Not you paying it and him paying you back, because let's face it, sometimes we don't see our parents as real lenders. Especially if you just took care of it, he might never be inclined to pay you back because you're mom. And mom's been paying for stuff for me our whole lives. I have a feeling he would feel like that debt is just gone. So now that he is employed and you are not, I would have him take responsibility of this payment. Monitor it, of course, because your credit is wrapped into this, and you're responsible for this loan too because you signed for it. But I would try to get him to pay it. Maybe set $4,000 aside and don't tell anyone about it. Just keep it in savings just in case he defaults on it for some reason. But I would like to see him take responsibility for this loan. Not you pay it and he pays you back. Him pay directly to this debt every single month until he's out of it. $4,000 is not that much money, especially if he's employed. I paid off my $4,000 loan in about a year and a half, and it was very good for me to pay that off myself. And it was a Parent Plus loan, and my dad never had to pay a cent on it. It was a good lesson in responsibility for me to pay that off, and I can't tell you how much weight it lifted off of me when I was no longer tied to someone else in debt. So it'll be good for him, it'll be good for you, but yeah, just he's employed now, he needs to take over the payments, still monitor the statements, make sure that he is paying, and set aside a little bit of money just in case he decides not to be responsible for his debt, so that you don't end up on the line. But other than that, I would advise you to keep this money for yourself. It might have to last you a little bit. It sounds like this is a lot of your savings. So, hold on to that. You might need it. You never know what you're going to need it for. All right. Good luck, H. Alrighty. Stephanie Pulliam says, how do I get the most out of my money during the year? Right now I have myself and my daughter that I could claim, but I'm claiming 0. If I switch it to 2, how badly would that affect my income tax refund the next year? Well, Stephanie, it depends on how much you're getting now. If you're doing 0, then the government is probably taking quite a bit of money out of your check that you're getting back in a refund. Now, of course, we don't necessarily want that. It would be a lot better if we didn't give the government our money on an interest-free loan just to get it paid out. It would be much better if you're able to get that in your paycheck every single month and utilize that for your goals. So, you can do a little bit of math on this. See how much you're getting for 2. Go into your HR department and ask for their advice a little bit. If you're getting this huge refund by filing 0, say like $5,000, then it might be a really good idea to go ahead and bump it up to 2. If it's a smaller refund, like 1 or 2, then you might be closer to where you need to be. Try filing 1 for a year and seeing how that turns out. It's all very complicated, and you kind of have to experiment a little bit with this, but you definitely don't want to owe at the end of the year. I would advise you to push more towards getting a little bit of a refund back than to owe a little bit of money, but just take it one step at a time. If you're getting a large refund now, change your filing status to 1, see what it is next year. If it's closer to 0, or if that's more what you want it to be, then leave it. If not, up it to 2 or 3, or whatever you need it to be. So, you do have to experiment a little bit, unfortunately, but I think it's good that you're asking these questions. All right. Cody Codes says, hey, Budget Girl, I'm a new subscriber and fan. Thank you. Your videos are so awesome. I am a 22-year-old final year university student, and I recently lost my job. I used to make about $2,000 a month on my casual job. I never really saved and paid attention to my spending, as I always earned more than I spent. I spend about $500 to $600 a month. I don't have any liability obligations, as I still live with my parents who haven't given me an allowance since high school. Now that I'm not working, I've saved up $11,000. I wish to budget my expenses and reduce my spending. Most of my spending goes to buying food on campus and eating out. I'm now making food and bringing it every day, which my friends think is lame. I feel disconnected with my friends now, as I always eat lunch by myself. I dream of going on a 2-week graduation vacation to Europe at the end of the year. Do you think I should look for a new job to feel financially secure, or just try to focus on my studies now? Yours sincerely, Cody. Now, I asked Cody how he was able to save $11,000 if he wasn't working, and he said he lives in Australia, where people under the age of 25 who are pursuing a higher education get a government student allowance of a couple $100. And so, first of all, Cody, I have never had $11,000 in the bank in savings because I've been trying to pay off my debt, but I think it's absolutely fantastic what you've been able to accomplish. Please don't beat yourself up. This is amazing. And it sounds like you're beating yourself up a little bit because when you were working, you were just kind of spending. You didn't have a budget, but the fact that you've been able to put aside so much tells me that you're a very responsible person. So here's the thing. You can accomplish all of your goals. You certainly can. I'm super excited for your future. Yes, I would go ahead and get a part-time job. Make sure it has flexible hours, work 10, 15 a week, and start stocking that aside. 2, set yourself up a budget. Put in that budget enough money to go eat out with your friends about once a week. All right, you're in college, have fun with your university friends, and tell them where they can put it if they think that your homemade lunches are lame, because that's awesome that you're doing that. And I'm sure some of them are taking out student loans and doing other stuff. No one can sustainably eat out every single day. So if you can bring your lunch and eat with them, I think that's amazing. Make sure you do it once a week or so, at least, or see if they can bag a lunch and eat out on the quad with you or something. It's great that you live with your parents and can just save this money for your future. And I think you can totally go on this 2-week vacation to Europe at the end of the year, especially since you've got $11,000 in savings. And if you pick up another job to add to that, make a budget though, for your European trip. Make a list of all the expenses that you're going to have, your plane tickets, your lodging, food. Try to spec out all of that and figure out exactly what it is that you're going to need, and then add about a 20% buffer, as in about 20% of your total amount, add that to it for incidentals. So I think that's great. I think you are doing absolutely fantastic. I hope you don't have any debt. I doubt you have any debt. And yeah, I just pick up a little job. Most people work through school in the United States. I mean, most of us. And it's, and unless your program is just insanely difficult, you can probably work through school because you were working through school. So yeah, pick up 15, 20 hours a week, sock all this money away, give yourself a little bit of a budget for fun, and then save up for this trip, which is going to be absolutely amazing, and good luck to you. But do make a budget, please. Please make a budget, because this way you'll be able to control your expenses. It's not restricting. It's all this money that you have coming in. You can just write down on a piece of paper, $100 a week for food, you know, for eating out with friends, $300 a week for putting towards savings for this. And that way you're just managing where it's going. You're not just spending things. But what you can do with a budget, and my favorite part of a budget, is that you can put in that bit of fun money, that spending money, and then you can feel good when you're spending it going out and doing stuff with friends or eating or whatever. So good job though. Excellent job on you. Okay. Anne Marie White says, sorry, you probably mentioned this before, but what about your cleaning products, etc.? Do you allow a separate budget for this, and how do you decide how much? Okay. I buy most of my cleaning ingredient products at the Dollar Tree. I have been trying to switch over to a more like low zero waste. As soon as I am done with all the cleaning products I currently have, I'll probably start making my own with like vinegar and Castile soap and stuff like that. But my favorite cleaner, it's like an all-purpose cleaner, is the LA's Awesome Yellow like spritz bottle stuff at Walmart. No, not at Walmart, at the Dollar Tree. And I just spray that on everything. Wipe it down. It gets rid of all sorts of stuff. I vacuum. I have some Murphy's oil soap for the floors. Febreze for bedding and linens that are like curtains that hang and stuff like that. And I think I have a bottle of glass cleaner. And I have soap. I get all of it at the Dollar Tree because I don't use, you know, I clean my home about once a week, but it doesn't, you know, I don't go through that much cleaning product. I just take it out of my grocery budget. I consider that grocery and household. I get my toilet paper out of there, which is the only single-use product that I use. I don't buy paper towels. I use rags instead, and I don't buy sponges. I use rags, you know, like washcloths to scrub dishes with. So, yeah, it just comes out of my grocery budget. You know, maybe a couple bucks a month is not bad. If you have a bigger house that requires more cleaning than mine does, or anything like that, yeah, just set aside maybe $10 a month for cleaning stuff. See if you need more or less than that, and then budget accordingly. I personally, yeah, mine just comes out of my grocery budget because it's like grabbing a spray bottle of stuff at the Dollar Tree while I'm grocery shopping, you know, every couple of months. And it just doesn't make a dent. There's never been a reason for me to make it its own category. So, but maybe that'll help. Alrighty, and then finally, Lynn Lockwood. I wanted to send a congratulations out to her. She told me that she just made her last car fleece payment, which is fantastic. She said, well, I love the car. I'm glad to be able to get out of this lease. I wish I hadn't made the mistake, but I did. Live and learn, right? My husband and I are working on baby steps, step 2, and this was our first major debt to be paid off. Thanks for keeping me motivated, Lynn. That's wonderful, Lynn. Congratulations. I did want to speak for just another moment on an emergency budget, which since I had 3 people ask questions this time about losing their job, what do I do when I lose my job, what do I need to pay, the very first person Hulda had the right idea. There is an emergency budget that you should kind of have in mind. And I, maybe about once a year, once every other year, I go through and I just look at my budget and I see what would I cut if I lost my job. And then I have a very clear picture of what would happen. It's like you switch into survival mode. So once again, I would still pay my rent. I would still buy my groceries. I'd still pay for my electricity and my gas. And my, and my bills, like my car insurance and stuff like that. And I'd still pay for Rory's food, who is over here next to me. But any restaurant spending, gone. Any entertainment or personal spending, like my allowance, gone. That's money that I no longer have to spend, because once again, what you're going to be doing is you're either going to be relying on unemployment or your mini emergency fund. All of my student loan payment, I would only pay the minimum starting immediately. So there's $213.85, which is the minimum payment of my student loans. That auto drafts out. That is the only payment I would be making. I would not be going back at the end of the month and paying an extra $700-800 on it. And that's the survival mode instinct. So you strip your budget down to absolutely nothing. Only the things you need to survive, and you focus all of your energy in on finding a new job. Whatever you have to do to find a new job, if you have to pick up a little mini job while you're doing that to deliver pizzas or wait tables or whatever it is. I know in America, if you are on unemployment, any money that you make counts against your unemployment. So sometimes it is better to just take the unemployment instead of, because they'll count it as working. And you obviously don't need unemployment if you're working. That was not a good mental space for me to be in when I lost my job in Mississippi, because I was getting, I think it was $200 a week unemployment, but I couldn't pick up any like waitressing jobs or anything like that to bring in extra money to survive on or to keep me busy, because any money that I made legally was taken away from my unemployment, so it would have been a wash and I wouldn't have been making enough to survive anyway. But yeah, completely focus on finding a new job. I had a system where every single day I woke up and I applied for 3 jobs, and then I took a lunch break, and then I came back and I did more internet research on more jobs. I'd amend my cover letter, I'd amend my resume. I made a website that had my portfolio and everything on it, and I'd just constantly be applying for jobs, and I'd have to keep track of it for unemployment. And that's, eventually it worked. That was good. And I was able to go back to a budget where I could breathe a little bit more. But that survival mode is panicking, but it's a good thing. So I challenge you guys this week, look at your budget and just maybe jot down for a second what your actual expenses, your core expenses would be if you had to cut everything. And that's kind of a liberating number, because if you go in and say, okay, rent, electricity, gas for home, gas for car insurance, minimal amount of groceries, and no other expenses other than just bills, and then you add up the 4 walls, basically, the minimum that you need to survive in survival mode. Oh my goodness, I only need to make $600 a month to get this to happen. Or, oh goodness, I only need to make $1,200 a month. And right now, my budget's $2,200 a month. So this is good. This is good. This is a more attainable goal in survival mode. I can do this. And it'll make you feel just a little bit better about that. Because you can do this. You can definitely do this. Losing a job is terrible. It sucks. It is a horrible, mind-bending, self-esteem ruining experience. But usually there are better things to come on the horizon. So message me your Money Monday questions below, and I look forward to hearing from you all. I will see you in my next video. All right, bye.